some breaking news that came across the waiver wire this morning. Chris Haynes of Yahoo Sports and the Bleacher Report has reported that Russell Westbrook, the vocal leader of the team, he made note on a tweet, has requested to come off the bench to help the Clippers' first unit establish some continuity. Clippers on a slide. They've lost 6 straight since adding James Harden. It's been a disaster. It's been a mess. Your thoughts on Brody to the bench? And just to give the people some color, you and Law Murray, Clippers insider from The Athletic, just touched on this situation on Knicks Fan TV. But yeah, let's go into it.
Hey man, this is not the guy who should be coming off the bench. All right. Even Wall tweeted out, and we got that in the chat. So Gam, if you can go into the Slack and pull the one up from Wall Murray, that would be great. And this is what Wall had to say today on X.com, Twitter.com, formerly known as Twitter, whatever you want to call it nowadays.
Yeah.
He says, let's just put it, this is what Wall said. Let's just put it this way. If the staff wanted the starters to have the right chemistry to break the streak, then Russell Westbrook and Terrance Mann are starting together like the plan was coming out of training camp. 5-man lineup of Harden, Mann, George, Leonard, Zubac equals 0 minutes. There's been this makes no sense to me, CP. And this is what I was going to as well. It's like, you came into training camp without James Harden on the team. That's already been established. We've discussed this too many times. Now you want to go say, hey, you know what? We're going to really shake it up now and put Westbrook on the bench. And it's like, what are we doing, man? Like, I get that you got to get another role player in there. It's too many stars. It's too top heavy. But to move Westbrook to the bench makes absolutely no sense. They were rolling to start the season. James Harden hasn't even had a training camp with these guys. He was out in Philadelphia and didn't even get playing time over there. Now you're going to tell me that James Harden's going to start this season or right now with Kawhi, PG, and everything's going to be fine? I just don't see it working like that, man. And I get the idea of wanting James Harden to be James Harden. I get that. But let's also remember who James Harden is. He is a guy who is a high usage player, extremely ball dominant. Okay. Last show, I already told you how Kawhi went from 28% usage to 22 since James Harden has joined. How are you now going to say, hey, the most high usage guy in the NBA that we've ever seen is now going to solve the problems that we've had when Westbrook starting this season had that unit going? It just makes no sense to me, man. I think I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on.
Yep.
Going to put it on right now, CP.
Do it.
Did Harden and Westbrook have a conversation? Did they have the conversation? Did Harden say, like, look, man, you know, in order for me to get going, you know how it is, bro. Like, I've been this guy who's always been number one. I'm a high usage player, this, that, and the third. So is Westbrook. I'm not saying Westbrook hasn't.
Yeah.
But Harden is the new guy. You know what he did out in Philly? Is he the one that went over to West because they still got a relationship? Is he the one that said, hey, let me be the guy to be the starter and you come off the bench? Because you already did that, man. You already did that out in LA. Or was it Ty Lue? Because I don't believe Westbrook came in here and said, let me go to the bench.
No, this was Ty Lue. And look, some people out there speculate and say, hey, maybe this was the Clippers, because Clippers have a lot of tremendous respect for Russell Westbrook. And they've made a concerted effort to treat him not like the Lakers did, right? So they're making a considered effort to roll out the red carpet for him, and he's rewarded him. Russell Westbrook has played well for the Clippers since he's gotten there in his role. But I believe this is a Ty Lue situation where, and he even mentioned it in postgame in their previous loss to Denver, he's got to go out. Now is the time to experiment. You got to figure it out. You didn't have a training camp with Harden. He didn't have a training camp. He's got to get up into game speed, and you've got to get him acclimated to your system. And so this is the time to try to tinker with things. But also, you got to think about it like this. This is where their longer-term investment is. It's in James Harden, not in Russell Westbrook. They signed Brody to a team-friendly cheap deal. For Harden, they dumped assets into this thing. So their investment in him is more important because they want to see it through. This is the final straw for them. And so they've got to make sure that, they are, acclimating. They are accommodating James Harden, but they have to, because they got rid of half of their depth and more draft picks and punted their entire future to accommodate Harden and PG. And then obviously you have Kawhi Leonard there. So this is their big three. If Brody doesn't like it, look, he's been playing well. He's making the sacrifice, and you give him that. You give him that credit for sure. But from a business standpoint, Steve Ballmer's looking at this like, look, you asked me to part with more of my assets here for this guy. Now it's your job to make it work. And unfortunately, this is the issue, man. This is part of the issue because he hasn't been impactful with them. Brody has, but now they've got to make the proper arrangements to accommodate James Harden. They have to do it.
So let me ask you this then. Do you think James Harden's going to get a big contract after this season? Because even though Westbrook signed for a cheaper deal, right, team-friendly deal for until the end of next season, I believe, you're telling me that Ballmer's going to be okay paying James Harden more money for next season, more like up there with like Kawhi and PG? Because I don't see that. And even because he is making the most money this year, I still look at it as like, if you're investing into the future, it makes much more sense for James Harden to come off the bench. I don't like, he wants to win. If James Harden's serious about winning, if James Harden's serious that he wants to actually be a part of, like, be a team member and all that stuff, you know what you say as that guy? You should be the guy saying, hey, guess what? I'm going to take the back seat because I'm new to the situation. And guess what? I haven't had a training camp with these guys yet. You let the entire team say, look, that's how you really know that's a guy who's about team. All right. So I get the investment thing. I get all of that. To me, man, Harden should be the one on the bench. He should be the one saying, not I should be going to the bench. I'm new to this team. Westbrook, you guys had something cooking. Look, CP, before Covington went over to Philly, this lineup of Westbrook, PG, Kawhi, Covington, and Zubac, they were a plus 14. I'm not a big plus minus guy, but they were a plus 14. They were 2-1 with that lineup. Okay. 2-1. That's the lineup that you got going on right now. All right. And Terrance Mann, you obviously got to bring him into the situation too, but it should not have been Westbrook going to the bench. I think we're going to see the Clippers struggle still, even with this. They may win the game tomorrow, but I think for the next few games, you're still going to see, hey, are they going to get into rhythm? Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another lineup change and they say, you know what? Russ, get back in that starting rotation because things were clicking at the beginning of the season. Terrance Mann, you get into that starting rotation. Hey, Harden, you go run the show with that second unit until you get up to game speed. That's a mid-season move to put Harden in the starting rotation.
Right. And I agree with you. It did make the most sense to slowly get him back into the groove while you try not to disrupt the rhythm that Westbrook was having with the rest of the starters. But it just seems like Ty Lue is searching right now to find the right combinations, establish the proper rotation. And look, this team is going to have between now and mid-April to get it together. Top 10 teams are going to be in contention for the playoffs. The Clippers right now, they're struggling, but they'll have some time to get it together. I still think that they will have some time, but this is the product of the pressure that comes with what they're trying to do. We don't, and nowadays we don't give teams time to establish chemistry and get it together. Oh, right now we're looking through 7 games and like, yo, what's going on? 6 games, what's going on? Is it working? Is it not working? Through 6 games, we're giving this Harden trade a look. So they're under a lot of pressure, but I just think, because of the investment that they made in James Harden, is he going to get a max bag after this? Who knows? But this could be a case where these two parties are tied to the hip in terms of James Harden's future, and the Clippers are going to have to see that through. They put a lot of assets into this thing. I do think the one key, though, is Terrance Mann starting.
No, for sure.
Because while I like the 4 stars that they have, Terrance, there's a lot that they have to sacrifice to make it work. And I said this on the last show with Terrance Mann, you don't have to do that because he knows his role already. You need connectors out there. You need guys that are going to set screens, do the dirty work, do the hustle plays. He's a young player. He's got to get infused into that because you got PG, you got Kawhi, you got James Harden, you got some old established vets. You need kind of an engine, a high motor guy that's going to do everything across the stat sheet to make it work, to bring those 3 guys together. So I like that. I like Terrance Mann in there. I said on the last show that he should even be closing because he's very important to that team and they have to give him a chance. I mean, look, they held him back from the Harden trade. So clearly he's important to them. Now he's getting his chance and we'll see how that works together for them. They also are going to pick up Daniel Tice. We talked about they needed big man depth with the injury to Mason Plumlee. I like Tice. I think he's going to add some depth and some versatility for them. Another scrapper. They need scrappers, man. Guys that is going to get it out the mud. Thought that was a decent pickup too.
Yeah, I like that pickup. And he wasn't getting that much playing time out in the Pacers anyway, so it's good for him. Clippers are able to take advantage of that buyout. I don't know, man. I'm not. Look, I get it. We're going to talk about the Bradley Beal thing at the end of the show, but it's stuff like that when you see, you got injury, teams got to adjust. I'm looking for, we examine these small sample sizes of a game because especially for a top heavy team like the Clippers, 6 L's with high powered offensive players like that, that's bad. Like for as talented as they are, they should be able to at least take out some of the weaker teams, and they struggled, man. Like you're telling me that you're losing to Mikal Bridges and the Nets, like the Nets don't have that much star power where you're going out there and you're losing. You know what I mean? Like they're losing games by small margins, and the star power that you have is supposed to say, hey, even when we are at our worst, we can still win these games. And so when you go on a 0-6 losing streak, to me, yeah, I'm a little worried. You talked about it. Like you made this investment in James Harden. And look, I don't really care that you got James Harden now. Like you made the biggest deal trading for this guy. This guy has not shown that he is committed to a team when he's not happy. And look, I'm all for about being happy and going to a place where you feel like you got your mental right and all those things. But we saw how he left Houston. We saw how he left Brooklyn, and now we saw how he left Philly. So now you're going to tell me that you got into this deal. I don't really care that you made the deal. I really don't. You already knew what you're getting yourself into. And if I'm Ballmer, I'm like, wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. Why are we making this change? Why are we making this rotational change if we were doing okay before he got here? That makes no sense to me. So I hear you, CP. I get it. I don't like it. I really don't, just because for Brody, like, and look, shout out to Wall, man. He wrote about the respect that Kawhi and PG gave Brody. And awesome that he's open to accepting this, being the sixth man coming off the bench, but he's not that guy he shouldn't have to do the CP. It's just interesting. And to even have Wall tweet out that, right? To say that, and Wall, if you haven't checked out Knicks Fan TV and saw the Game of the Week preview and you want to hear how they felt, go check that out. Wall has high praise for Ty Lue. And so to question this rotational change for Ty Lue from Wall, in my opinion, that says a lot from Wall. Okay. So yeah. I'm not a fan of it, but we'll see what happens.